Okay, now this is another discussion on acute inflammation as body response injuries. Now, we saw that inflammation is the mammalian response to inflammation, and this inflammation is dependent on as living features. There is accumulation of wind and the plasma at the affected area, and this one result to swelling and edema because the fluid accumulates in the interstitial species. Then there is intravascular activation of the platelet cells by the what we call platelet activation factor, so that there is clotting to prevent bleeding. Again, there is activation of polymononucleoleucocytes, neutrophils, as cells of inflammation, so that they can go and tackle this inflammation process. These polymononuclear neutrophils, the other name, they are called microphages. They are called microphages. So on the right, you can see a normal blood vessels out there in the tissues. You can see the arterioles, the capillaries, and the veins. You can see the extracellular matrix, that is the interstitial areas where the swelling takes place. That is a normal tissue. Then we have an inflamed type of tissue where there is a dilatation of what? Of the artery, so that a lot of blood can come, and also there is dilatation of vein, so that a lot of fluid can go. And then there is expansion of the capillary bed, so that because of the increased blood flow from the dilated veins, you can see there is migration of neutrophils from the intravascular, from the inside the capillaries to the interstitial spaces, so that they can start fighting what is causing this inflammation. Then you can see that there is differentiation of what? There is differentiation of fibrin and other plasma proteins at the site, so that the process of repair can start taking place. So that the process uh, can start taking place. Now, inflammation is divided into two events. There are two events which takes place in inflammation. There is a vascular event where the vascular, how does the vascular behave during inflammation, and how does cells behave during this inflammation process. So these two processes are intermittently working together, and they are regulated by indicators of inflammation. They are indicators of inflammation. So let us look at vascular events in cases of acute inflammation. The vascular event, there is alteration in the microvascular, and this one is given in two phases. The first phase is there is hemodynamics changes, and there is change in the vascular permeability. There is change in the vascular permeability. So what are the hemodynamic changes during inflammation process? The first one is there is a transient vasoconstriction. There is a transient vasoconstriction immediate vascular response, and it always occurs on the arterial. It occurs at the arterial, and in mild inflammation process, it takes 3 to 5 seconds. Whereas in severe inflammation, it takes almost 5 minutes. So there is transient vasoconstrictions at the arterial, which is supplying blood at the inflamed place. So there is a transient vasoconstriction at the arteriole at the point of the entry to the inflammation process. Then it is followed by what? It is followed by persistent progressive vasodilatation. It is followed by persistent progressive vasodilatation. And this one again, it takes place more on the arterials and lesser to extent. Obviously, half an hour of after injury, there is increased blood volume and there is in macrovascular bend of the area and there is redness and form. At this point now, the cardinal symptoms of inflammation have started coming in because of redness or because of the accumulation of blood there and form because of what? And because of the toxins and the fighting between themselves and then the cause of the inflammation which is taking place there. So the first picture demonstrates transient vasoconstriction at the arterial point, but the venue is just doing the normal of around the fluid out to the place where there is inflammation. So the process of exudation has started taking place. So the second photo is about persistent progressive dilatations where the arterial and the venues are dilating to encourage a lot of blood and also the capillaries start enlarging. So there's a lot of blood there to bring oxygen, to bring glucose to the cells which are fighting there, to bring other cells and also to carry away toxins and dead cells at that point of inflammation. So the third one in hemodynamic changes during inflammation process is what is called progressive vasodilatation. Progressive vasodilatation, there is elevated androstatic pressure at the local point of inflammation. This one results to a transition of the fluids from the capillaries intravascular up to the extravascular space. Because of high androstatic pressure, the fluid escaped from the lumen of the capillaries, the matrix, the tissues, and this one is the one which encourages swelling, which is a cardinal signs of inflammation. Then the fourth one is there is swelling or stasis, and this is because there is increased concentration of red blood cells, and hence means that the viscosity of blood at this point is high because there is increased red blood cells. You know, these red blood cells are the ones which are bringing oxygen at the site of inflammation so that the cells which are fighting inflammation can have enough oxygen, can have enough oxygen. So this stasis, the blood viscosity becomes high because the amount of red blood cells is high. And it is demonstrated by that graph there. So the last hemodynamic changes during inflammation process is called leukocytic migration. How the leukocytes migrate. The leukocytes are the cells which fight inflammation. The red blood cells which fight inflammation, and they are the one called leukocytes. So the peripheral orientation of leukocyte now they start moving. You know, in a normal person, a leukocyte or the blood cells, they have what you call turbulent blood flow. That the cells flows in the middle of the capillary on the sides in the serum. So at this point, they are not touching the walls of the capillary. So this time now they have started migrating slowly to the walls of capillaries, resulting now what? So that they can migrate from the capillaries to they can migrate from the capillaries to the extracellular system can go to the point of they can go to the point of inflammation. And this one leads to the stick to the vascular endothelium briefly and then move and migrate through the gaps between the endothelial cells and the extravascular species. And this process is called a migration. And this process is called a migration. So Basically, that is how those things occurs, and the hemodynamic changes and during what? During inflammation process. During inflammation process. And that is the end of this topic about the